Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and today we are going to go around my plant room and just do some updates because I have some new growth happening, and I might also go into the greenhouse cabinet because I have some really exciting updates and things are growing. Spring is here. We are going to kick it off with my new Phytonia. As you guys know, my old Phytonia passed away, and I actually ended up finding this one on a birthday shopping trip to Lowe's. So I've actually never seen this specific type of Phytonia have leaves this big, but they're so big. And it's not like my favorite thing because I feel like it almost starts to look like lettuce. I much prefer when the leaves are kind of small like this, but obviously the plant is just maturing, and that's why. It fits so perfectly in my Phytonia bowl, and I'm really glad to have my centerpiece back. I feel like with these leaves being so much bigger, it's just like so much more of a statement. So this plant really fills out the pot super well, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Okay, I wanted to quickly show you this guy. So this is the Philodendron salem or Thematophyllum bipinnatum, something like that, that I had to cut down quite a bit because she got neglected literally all winter long. And we have lots of, wait, is this a growth point? No, it's not. Okay, but there's a leaf starting to emerge right here, which I am so happy and relieved about. But I'm happy to report that it is going to be fine, and I'm going to be moving it outside super soon because we have some warm weather coming. So she's gonna start acclimating outside, which is super exciting. This corner is an absolute scary disaster. This corner always gets so messy. These are some obelisks that I bought for my outdoor landscaping, and we had some tornado stuff happening, so I didn't want them to get blown away. And then this is an extension cord that I need to bring to the greenhouse. So just ignore the state of this corner. We're gonna turn over here where it's much more beautiful and aesthetically pleasing. This plant here is putting out a new leaf. This is my King Anthurium, and I'm so happy that it's putting out a new leaf. Sometimes it takes a while between new leaves to like put out another one, but this one recently came out, and you can see it just looks so much more fresh than all of these. A lot of these are like original leaves that I bought with the plant many years ago, so they're starting to sort of say their goodbyes, if you will. Like these two particularly are the oldest on the plant, and I'm glad to see that it's still putting out like big leaves with big ruffles. You come under the hood here and you can see that there's a new leaf coming out right here. So Anthurium are always kind of funny with new leaves, but it did put out a bloom like a long time ago. At this point, you can see how crispy. I cannot wait to see what it's gonna look like, how big it's gonna be. And it kind of just crept up. I mean, I really wasn't monitoring the plant for too long. Usually it'll put out like, just like an empty little shoot thing, and then the leaf will come up through it. And so it kind of happened without me really paying attention, but I did just fertilize it the last time I watered it. And I'm just saying, this is popping up right after I fertilized. I'm sure that it was in the works long before that, but I don't know, what if? I'm excited to see though. It's gonna be a really good leaf, I think. Okay, I always forget the name of this plant, but it's the Philodendron crassonervium. And it is the plant that has these like really big like bunny ear. Also, this is another corner of doom. Let's just ignore all of that. But some plant room realness over here. And that, yikes. Anyway, this is the Philodendron crassonervium, and I have it sort of climbing up this wall. I mean, it's not climbing, but it's just leaning. And I was noticing that the leaves were just getting progressively smaller. You can see how big they were. And then we move into this, and it like got cut off and it's small. But what I'm really pointing out here is look at these blooms. They are so cool. They haven't opened up yet, obviously, but there's two of them. And it hasn't put out a new leaf in a long time, but it did put these out, and I'm super intrigued. It's also kind of strange because these popped out in the middle of the plant. Like that's not at the top of like the new growth. That just popped out in the middle. I found that to be quite odd, and I'm interested to see. I mean, obviously it's an aroid, so the bloom is not going to be very interesting. It's probably going to look like all aroid blooms. But even so, it's just exciting that something like this is happening because it's so unique. I don't know many people that have this plant. And there's lots of like sap on the flower. I don't know if my camera will pick that up, but you can see in these other leaves, there's so much sap, and they're actually kind of like fungus gnat catchers. I haven't cleaned off these gnats, so that's kind of gross on my part, but fungus gnats always end up stuck in them, and it's just kind of funny. But Anyway, this plant could use some TLC for sure. Ugh, not looking very good. I hope that it'll put out a new leaf because all of these look really bad. But we'll just have to see. My Philodendron 69686 is putting out a new leaf, which is exciting. It looks like it's gonna be pretty big. Like it's going from here to here. So that's like the length of my fingers, which is really long. So I'm hoping it'll be good. This is the last new leaf that it put out. And it's a pretty good size, but I think this one's gonna be bigger, which is really exciting. It doesn't get a ton of light in this corner. Like this is definitely the darkest part of the plant room. And I have a grow light that I put in here over the winter time, if I remember to turn it on. And I think it helps a little bit, but honestly, I don't know if it's really doing a ton. So I kind of just rotate the plants out of here. Like this is the only plant that stays in this spot consistently because it doesn't really need a ton of light. But otherwise I do tend to sort of rotate plants in and out of this space. What is this plant? I haven't said the name of this plant in so long. I think that this is it's a philodendron. Oh my gosh, I cannot remember the name of it, but this is a new leaf that came out. Oh, this is the Adibapoens. Black, or not black, but like really dark purple backs of the leaves. It just put out this leaf recently since I repotted it out of its like much smaller pot, and it needs to be on a plank. I have several plants that I need to put on a plank, so that's probably going to be an entire video, like planking my plants again. I'm excited about that. This Rhipsalis is really having a moment and I love it. I think that this is so beautiful. I've had a different Rhipsalis, this one over here, for such a long time and it has never really popped off. I mean, it looks fine. It's definitely growing more like right now than it has ever. So I think maybe it just needed like a lot of time to acclimate. I don't really know. But this one started popping off immediately. Like I think all of this top stuff is new. And I'm just really excited about it. I think it's so fun. I was also looking at pictures of this plant, and when I bought it, it was barely coming out of the pot. Like it was probably like up to here. And I feel like with trailing plants, it's really easy to forget how much they've grown. It has like these little runners here, and these leaves are progressively getting smaller as they do. Like unless trailers have something to latch onto, they will get smaller and smaller leaves. So I don't really mind that necessarily. I just kind of keep them trimmed up. If I notice it's getting leggy, I'm just gonna cut it. And I'm about to do that on this one. This is my Scindapsus pictus, and it looks really full on the top. It's such a beautiful plant when I can remember to water it. I put it in this lower light section because it was just getting thirsty so fast. So I'm hoping that given the dark leaves, it should be fine. Like obviously this plant is thriving here, but I do have a skylight up here and it sort of like reflects off the wall and bounces back over into this area, but that's only when it's sunny. And obviously winter doesn't bring a lot of sunny days. So yeah, this one put off this like runner situation, and I'm definitely going to be cutting it because I much prefer to have full plants than like stringy things like this. I just don't think this is very pretty. My Wayettii is putting out a lot of growth, and it's one of those plants that I honestly wouldn't notice it was putting out growth because the new growth is a darker color. That's the only reason why I noticed, because I just kind of forget about this plant. Like honestly, most of my Hoya, I just completely forget about a lot of the time. And this one too. This is a watermelon, string of watermelons, and string of watermelons back over here. But yeah, the Wayettii is just such an easy Hoya. I really, really like it. Now, speaking of trailers that do long leggy pieces, this is my Mikans. And this is a long trailer, but it doesn't, like, it is a bit leggy, but it's not that leggy. I don't really want to cut it off because these leaves aren't like tiny little useless leaves. They're a little bit more substantial. So I probably could like propagate this, maybe put it in some water and just have it like decoratively, or I could wrap it around the top if I wanted. That's another technique people sometimes do with their long runners. But the tops of these plants are all staying like super full, which I really appreciate because sometimes trailers can just get really thin on top, probably because they are getting so much light. Coming down here to my Glorious, we have a new leaf coming out and it looks really big. I'd say that this leaf is already basically the same size as this leaf, which means that it should be a lot bigger. But pretty much once this is out and fully hardened off, I'm going to propagate this plant, and I'm probably going to cut it like, I don't know, there's like a few places where I could cut it, but I definitely want to take some cuttings because I just want the plant to be fuller. So it's like one long thing, which is great, but I think I would like to have two like 2 pieces in here that grow up. And I think I'm gonna give it a wider plank because right now it's just on a 2x4. And I have these fence post planks, which I really like. It's like rough wood. And I mean, I don't have plants attached to them, but I just think that it's like much more lightweight. And I haven't had any issues with these ones like breaking. So I have had situations when I used like a 2x4 plank like these, and they're just really heavy and they just fall over way easier. Whereas like this is a 1x, and then the fence planks are even, I think, like a 3/4 width, you can see. So I was mainly just using these because I had them and I didn't want to use other wood if I had these available. They're mainly just like offshoots from this project and others. But anyway, so I am going to propagate that one hopefully soon. Really quickly, wanted to call out one of my albos. This is probably my favorite albo that I have, honestly. I mean, this one has like really like bright variegation, like it's like a lot more white, but this one is much more stable and like a dark green color, and I just find it like a little bit more moody and really beautiful. But this leaf looks like it has a lot of variegation on it. It looks kind of small. I wish it was going to be bigger, but we'll just have to see how big it is. But it hasn't put out a new leaf in a really long time, and as the new leaves keep coming, they just keep getting better and better. So I'm super excited to see that one. This is my Splendid. This is a new leaf that it put out, and it looks really, really good. It's definitely leaning more varicosum, if anything, which makes me super happy. And I'm excited to see all of the new leaves it will put out. So this is a really quite sizable leaf. And then the next leaf was sort of the first leaf that it put out after I propagated it. So I wasn't expecting it to be very big, but hopefully the one after this one will be back to around this size. I'm really happy that they stayed relatively large after propagation, because I would have been really sad if it came out and it was like super tiny, but it looks great. Okay, now for the cabinet, there's been like a big uptick. There has been a really big uptick of activity in here, and I honestly think it is 90% due to the fact that it is super full. So when I water the plants, it stays very humid in here, and like up to 80% humidity, which is actually wild. I didn't really think like having more plants would make it more humid, but that's like such a silly thing. Like, I don't know why I didn't think of that. So now that I have it like really full, and it's full in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming. I mean, down here is a bit much, I'll be honest, but I just have some things that aren't going to be in here all, like these are propagations that are going to be gone, and then I can put one of these plants down here on this shelf. But the point is, lots of new growth in here. So we're just going to start like from here and go down. So this one right here, this is the Anthurium falcatum equigenera. And as you can see, it has a really nice T-shaped leaf. This is the leaf that it put out like right when I got it in the last couple of weeks, or let's say days actually. It's been working on this one. So this plant has, or this leaf has only been emerged for maybe like 5 days, and it started off literally this small. I just think Anthurium are so interesting to watch grow because they get so big so fast and they start so tiny. So it's just really cool to see that happening. And the leaf is even taller. Like this plant is gonna have to go like down here, or like even down to the bottom section of this, because it's getting really tall. Like I think the next leaf that comes up would be even taller than this. So that's super exciting. Okay, I'm experimenting with the lighting and filming this. Like it's so backlit when I have the lights on in here, but it feels really dark now. So let's see if this is any better. We'll see. My forgetty eye, it has the sphagnum moss, which is dry. Everything in here needs to be watered, by the way. I haven't watered in a few days. And I usually have to water it like every 5 to 7 days, like usually once a week. And we're definitely up for that. But this is the latest leaf that it put out before. Oh gosh, see, the lighting is like very grainy. I don't know, what do we want, backlit or grainy? Anyway, and it's putting out this new leaf here, which is super cute. I'm hoping that it looks perfect at this point. So I'm hoping that it stays looking perfect, but this is probably a product of obviously that high humidity and this little moss situation. So like the leaves on this plant have looked really bad, and I think once that new leaf comes out, I'm going to cut this off just because it's so ugly, and possibly even this one too, just because again, it's so ugly. And this one is like, it's like a nice dark color, but then the bottom got crunched. So anyway, first perfect leaf that this plant has put out since I've had it, I think, in a really long time. And I'm super excited about it. This propagation of my linearis is putting out a little baby shoot, which is exciting. I need to get this in soil. The other ones aren't doing as good. They are a lot younger propagations, so hopefully, you know, with time they will do better. But this plant right here, this was the like crystallinum hybrid situation. Look at how big this leaf is. It's massive. Like I was just watching it get bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm so excited because with like going to Ecuagenera, I really just wanted like a big leaf crystallinum, and this is like a Crystallinum magnificum cross, if I'm remembering correctly. So these leaves should get pretty big because magnificum leaves are very big. But the leaves that it was putting out prior to this were about this size. And there's another one over here that's like slightly bigger. But like this is definitely very, very big, much bigger than what it was putting out, which is great. It's almost fully hardened off as well. It's still a little bit soft and a little coppery in color. I think once it's completely done, it'll be more of like a dark green. I don't know if you can see the difference between no, you can't see. But yeah, I think it has just like maybe a few more days to a week of hardening off, and then it'll be at its full size. And then this leaf, this is the Luxurians Baciae cross. Look at how dreamy and dark that leaf is. Like that is a dark leaf. It's so pretty. And this is like completely hardened off and done, but there's two plants in this, which I didn't realize. And the other plant has much less mature leaves. It's just much younger, but it put this out, which is great. It just put this out like in the last couple of days. So I'm hoping that it'll be bigger than this leaf at least. And then we just have like a really full, good looking plant. My Hoya villosa finally put out a new leaf. As you can see, it's very glossy and fuzzy and beautiful. And this plant has been battling flat mites basically since I got it. And it would try to put on a new leaf and then the flat mites would kill it. And finally we got a hold of the flat mites. I am still like spraying it down every single time I water it, but it was able to finally put out this leaf, and it's so cool. It's so like crinkly on the edges. I'm just obsessed. And then of course, I mentioned this recently in a video, but this crystallinum put out this big, beautiful leaf, which was so exciting because all the leaves that it had been putting out before were this size and they look really worse for wear. Like that looks terrible. But this one is just absolutely gorgeous and a total stunner. And I think it's almost hardened off. Like it's still definitely like the new leaf coppery color, but hopefully soon it will be a nice deep green. This one right here, I just do not remember which Anthurium this is, but it has a really cool, like more pointy leaf shape, as you can see. Sorry, not the crystallinum who's like really trying to steal the show. But yeah, just like a more pointy leaf shape. That one put out a new leaf, which is really pretty. It has like a really nice red color. Absolutely gorgeous. This is super new. I need to water because this plant is thirsty. So hopefully this leaf will not get stunted because I have had a crazy week. If you saw my Instagram, you know. But yeah, so I need to get some water in here and hopefully this leaf will be super happy. But look how shiny it is. I'm confident that it's going to keep growing and get really big. And then the last thing I wanted to show was my bloom off of my Clarinervium. So it's kind of just like chilling next to these Monstera. And you can see that these are just like very, very developed berries. We're getting close, I think. So they definitely had a big change like in the last couple of weeks. They look very, very different. You can see up here is what it was looking like just like some black dots, but then more recently the bottom part just really plumped up, and you can see there's like a little tail that like probably didn't get pollinated. But yeah, I'm super excited. Hopefully I get some good berries and I'm able to have some babies off of this gorgeous Clarinervium. She is just such a stunner. And I'm hoping that this process will be done soon because I really miss getting those like really big leaves. The last leaf that I put out was really small, and somebody pointed out that it's probably small because all of the energy is being focused on this bloom here and creating seeds, which totally makes sense as a person growing a human. I think if I was trying to put out a new leaf, it would probably look like this because all my energy is right here. I'm super excited to see this plant continue to thrive, and she looks so good. I'm just so happy. Well, that is the first spring update. I hope that you enjoyed seeing all of the new things growing in my collection right now. It is so exciting every time the plants wake up because it reinvigorates the hobby. You know, it makes it like so much more exciting. So if you are, you know, walking around and you're noticing all of these new leaves, definitely give them a big thank you, a big kiss for the boost of energy and excitement for this spring. And if you're not seeing any new growth yet, don't worry. Maybe pop in some fertilizer and see if over the next couple of weeks something happens. I'm just so happy with my space. It looks so beautiful and bright, especially on a sunny day. I love it. But anyway, if you like this video, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and check out my vlog channel. I have that link down below at all times. Basically just more like lifestyle and garden content. And yeah, I'm really excited to see you over there too, if you are not already. And thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!